All right, cool. So let's make a start. So looking at the gold market now, I tend to use GC as I believe that it's the real data, and there's no manipulation of price. So if we look at what gold has been doing, okay, on a higher time frame basis, you can see how we had a bullish move up, okay. We came back into these lows, okay, and you can see how we respected that low and moved away, significantly just telling us that there is significant liquidity below, okay. Price then comes into it one more time, okay, and notice the break of structure to the upside. So that's the previous week, inducing buyers, okay. Now where are they putting stop losses? Where is their liquidity? Below this low, and that is the low that we hunted for this week. So we can say from a higher time frame basis, we have trapped buyers and induced sellers. Now if we break it down to the daily time frame, okay, you can see how we have the lows to the left still intact. So we might see some bullish PA out of this, but in my eyes it just seems that we're respecting this area to the left hand side. So until I see more lows go, I'm not convinced that we reach all-time highs again, or any sort of liquidity that's left above. And you can see how there's significant liquidity. If I clear my charts, there's significant liquidity left at the highs, okay, and you can see that forming, okay. So all of these highs have liquidity above. Now what did we do on a day by day basis? So you can see how on Monday, just to give a quick snapshot, we took out these lows to the left. So we took out some internal, okay. We've induced buyers, okay, through a break of structure to the upside. Now what we've essentially done at this candle is induced buyers, and so once we've trapped them, you can see a bullish move out. That doesn't mean we move up from there, okay. Now because we've induced buyers, okay, you got to see where did this move come from, okay, where did this bullish move break structure from. Now if you look to the left, you can see this whole area, okay, this whole area here is where the move came from. And look what the market comes to do. It comes and it hunts for that liquidity quite rapidly as well. So you can see how on Tuesday and Wednesday we hunted for that liquidity, and once that liquidity is now taken, we have the fuel to move higher, and you can see that in Friday's price action, okay, or Thursday and Friday's price action. So we'll break it down to see if there were any opportunities. There's nothing that I took personally on gold. As for me, the delivery wasn't as clear as it should be. However, there was an opportunity to enter from a higher time frame basis. So we can break that down. So if we look at it from a 4-hour time frame, so we're still looking at it from a higher time frame, okay. These lines on the left is just where there's a daily break. In fact, let me turn that off for now. So let's look at what we did. So as I was saying, okay, we came and we hunted for all of this liquidity to the left, okay. So I can in fact take this whole candle, okay, and what we essentially did here was trap those early buyers, okay. So these buyers that were selling, okay, buying, and you can see that when we tapped into this area, okay, notice how we have that reaction up, inducing buyers, only for them to come and get trapped. Okay, and once we trap them, you can see we had this move up, okay, on Monday. So if I just zoom into this price action, okay, we had this move up, inducing buyers. Okay, we took out the inducement high, so this is the inducement high. Okay, notice how we reacted off here as well. Okay, we took the inducement high, we broke structure to the upside. Okay, now who is involved in the market? You've got to understand, once we see a bullish move out and something quite rapid, okay, you will see loads of buyers get into positions, whether it's their Fibonacci, whether it's their premium discount, you know, supply demand zones. You will see a bunch of traders, breakout traders, etc. Now, what we do, we are generally the last participants to get into the market. So we observe the reaction. Okay, look at the reaction of this candle that broke the high. Okay, so this candle here. Okay, you can see how we came up and we broke structure, again inducing buyers on a higher time frame. And what do we do after that? We come and we trap them. Okay, so essentially they've been trapped again on a higher time frame basis. Now, where else would you see buyers getting involved? Well, if you look at this whole leg from A to B, okay, this is another area, okay, where you would see buyers getting involved. Okay, and again, what happens? Okay, look at the 4-hour candles. Okay, you can see here that you have another breaker structure to the upside. Okay, so again, inducing buyers, and then look what we do on Tuesday. We rapidly start to break down. We come back into this area, and again, what do? We induce buyers once more. Now that, okay, that last breaker structure upwards before we took that liquidity, okay, anywhere where we've taken these highs, okay, is a high probability setup to short back down. Now obviously you don't want to short unless there's a liquidity block to the left. Okay, so if we go down now to more intraday time frames, and we can see that here, right? So here's a breaker structure to the upside. Okay, so we'll start on Monday. So Monday we induced higher. Okay, and if we just break it down on a day by day basis, so this is during Asia, you can see how we have buyers essentially being induced in the market. Okay, we broke structure to the upside. Look at these lows. Okay, look at the reaction we get. We even break this candle's high, inducing buyers only for us to come and trap them. Okay, look how we come and take that liquidity. Okay, that's Monday, that's 4 p.m. GMT, so that's during New York. We come and we trap. Okay, now that isn't a short that you would take, however we have formed a liquidity block. Okay, so we induced lower and then trapped higher, formed the liquidity block. Okay, and then look what happens after we've induced sellers. So now we've broken structure to the downside. Okay, we have this consolidation. Okay, price then wicks to the downside, and then I believe this is during Asia on Tuesday. We come and we spike higher. Now this would have been a higher time frame entry where you would have had your stops above the highs. Okay, and I would have held this until all that liquidity is taken. Okay, and that would have been your higher time frame move. Okay, to the liquidity at the lows, and notice the expansion down. Okay, very rapid, trapping all of this buyers that were being built up during Friday and then into Monday. Okay, London session we induced higher, New York we trapped, and then in Asia on Tuesday we saw that short down. Okay, and then you can see we moved up. Okay, this is taking a 4-hour high on Tuesday. Now for me personally, nothing clean, as I was waiting for this inducement high to get ran. Okay, you can see how we've respected that area multiple times. I did want to see the highs taken before I look for entries back down. Okay, and then same thing on Wednesday. You can see how we've taken that 4-hour high. Okay, we've induced buyers in this area. However, there's just too much liquidity above for me to look for short positions down. Okay, so in honesty, I think the only entry that could have happened on gold that was higher probability was on Tuesday during Asia. Okay, and then you would have just held to the lows. Okay, and then once we took those lows out, you can see how price then begins to consolidate. Okay, we've now basically taken all of that liquidity. Now think about the amount of sellers who, if we look on the daily time frame, after seeing such massive bearish candles to the downside, okay, think about the number of sellers that are involved. Okay, and where would they be taking positions from? Well, that's what we want to see on the charts. So you can see how I've marked that liquidity out. I'm just going to clear my charts and keep that there. Okay, so what do we now do? We've taken those lows from the left. Okay, we have that bullish move up on Wednesday during during New York, and then we come and we trap these. These are early buyers trying to get into the market. Okay, so you can see how we've trapped at these lows. Okay, again, we now have sellers getting in at these highs. Okay, now at an extreme, this isn't something I'd be looking for, especially during the Asia session, to get in. Okay, so this is not an entry that I would be taking. I'd just wait for more PA. Now what we are doing here on Thursday is respecting, this is where I'd put the separator on. So you can see this is the daily low on Wednesday. You can see on Thursday, okay, during Asia, we come and respect that low. Okay, and this is why I wasn't looking for any buys once that liquidity was taken, because we respected that daily low. Okay, we moved higher and we come to just respect. So if I just show you where we broke structure to the upside. Okay, now this is your inducement high that gets run. Okay, and so there's nothing clear here to take a buy on Thursday for me personally. Okay, now you can argue that we broke structure to the upside, we built liquidity on the way down, and then on Friday we took that liquidity. Okay, so if we go down now to a lower time frame, there's just nothing clean here. Why? Because we have those daily lows intact, and if we did spike and take that daily low, then I would have looked for positions to the upside. Okay, now you can see how we were inducing buyers here. Okay, so look how we had this reaction up and then we trapped them. Okay, now you can argue we have a liquidity block here. Again, just not something I'd personally take. Okay, why? Because of all this liquidity below. If you were to take something like this, okay, then you'd lower the risk. But for me, it's not something I'd be taking. Now on Friday, you can see how we started to just induce higher. Okay, we've built enough liquidity. You can see here we've respected this whole area. Okay, we respected this whole area. So if we zoom in, okay, we induce higher. Okay, we have a breaker structure to the upside, and then we take this low. Okay, so if I go to the 5 minute, this might be easier to see. So we take this low. Now why I really like this is, look what we did before we took the low. We induced higher, okay, and then we took the low. So I'll take this whole thing as essentially a liquidity block. Okay, now we are in a liquidity block, which makes this even better. Okay, so we have an LB there. And then, okay, we induce higher, and then we come back to take the lows. Okay, now this isn't something I'd be taking at this point. However, okay, I believe, let's go to the 1 minute. Once I see buyers induced and then trapped, so this is something I'd be more inclined to take. So you see how we induced sellers, we come and respect these highs, and then we move lower. Anywhere below this low, I would take a buy. Okay, and you can see the move up that we have. Now targets, okay, you can see to the left all of this liquidity built up. If you were taking this on a CFD, I would personally be holding to these highs. Okay, now what did we do in the PM session on Friday? We just induced higher. Okay, now what do we come for? We come and take out these lows, and we see a move higher. Okay, look at where we induced from. Why do we? You can see that breaker structure before. Did that break structure? Just about. So we can come to see that on the gold market, we can see that move higher. Now I'm not convinced that this is the move that takes us to all-time highs. Okay, I do think that once we take some highs, we come back down to take the lows. Okay, so gold is in a very weird place at the minute for me. I'd be seeing on how we react next week. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me in terms of analyzing the gold market. I took 0 entries on gold this week. Does anyone have any questions around PA on gold? Any questions? If not, I'll move on to NQ. Yeah, very clear. Thank you. No worries. In my chart, weekly left side low didn't too. Why? on the weekly. Just make sure you have this B adjacent on your trading view clicked. No worries, bro. Okay, so we'll move on to NQ, my favorite pair. Okay, NQ has been taking everyone in circles. Honestly, look at this bearish week. Wow. Okay, so just breaking it down here. Okay, so you can see how on the weekly time frame on NQ, we broke structure to the downside. We came up to all-time highs and we respected it twice. Okay, so once, twice, and then we broke back down. Okay, now what do we see on the daily time frame? So you can see these are the lows that were taken. Okay, and we then had that move up, and I explained last week how we have now engineered liquidity to the downside. Okay, now if we look at what we did on a day-by-day basis, okay, so once we came into this area, broke down, and we basically filled this gap, I was convinced that we'd move to take up our all-time highs. Okay, however, NQ had a different scenario. So what did we do on Monday? Okay, on Monday we came and we spiked previous is that Monday? Yeah, so we spiked the previous so that was Thursday's high, okay, because it was bank holiday on Friday, so it spiked Thursday's high. Now that has induced buyers. Okay, so I was very wary on Monday. I don't really try to take trades on Monday. I like to see what the market does. So just to break it down, okay, so we broke structure to the downside and we came to the highs, okay, and we had these breaker structures. So look, we broke down, we came back into that area and we broke down again. So what are we doing here? We're inducing sellers. Okay, so as soon as we opened on Sunday/Monday, you can see we had this bullish move up. Think about the number of buyers, okay, that are getting into this market. And what do? We don't even take, and this is the weird thing about it, we don't even take the highs. We respect and leave liquidity there. We are in an LB, so you can expect a reaction out. Now this isn't a short that I'd be taking. Why? Because I can see how we've already broken to the downside, indicating to me that we have liquidity above. So there is no way that I'd be taking that short, especially leaving, okay, those highs intact. So if it spiked and took those highs, I might have taken a low risk position. Okay, and this is exactly after stock open. The next 4-hour candle opens. So if I just zoom in so we can see what's happening here. So this is where market opens. You can see how we just straight up move bullish. The next 4-hour candle opens, it spikes the previous 4-hour high in this LB, okay, and then we see that massive move down. Now think about it, just by spiking that 4-hour high, there are loads of traders in here who are convinced we're moving higher, and you can see that here, okay, in the PM session. What we do is we spike higher, okay, we induce buyers to move higher. Okay, and then what does the market do? Okay, literally, I believe this was around market close. We come and we just spike and take out all of that liquidity. Okay, look at the liquidity that was built. We have a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. We're essentially respecting these lows, and the market just comes and dumps from Tuesday during Asia. Okay, and then in London. You can come, you see how we've, look at where this bullish reaction came from. Okay, we come and we take those lows. Okay, so this whole area, in fact, we can take this whole area, is where that reaction came from. So the market comes down into this area once more. Okay, now look what happens again. Like you can see, and this gives me conviction that we're moving lower, because we come into this area, okay, where buyers are looking to get in. We have again another spike at the 4-hour high, okay, inducing buyers. Okay, now what do we come and do? We come and again, look, we spike. So this is on Wednesday. Spike higher, and then we drop and we take out all of that liquidity. Now on Wednesday, so on Tuesday, you can see how we just had that. Do you know what? That's not too bad. Let me see if there's an entry there, because I might have missed that. I respected those. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's tough to take, to be honest. No high. Could have taken that. That's a potential entry, to be fair. I mean, it's not. It's very high risk. It's very high risk. Because we come in, we take these lows, we spike, take those highs. That's a liquidity block. I mean, does it give us a 1 to 3? Yeah, just about. And that's something you could have taken, to be fair, on Wednesday. We come and spike lower now. Okay, once we've taken all of that liquidity, okay, you are bound to see, okay, look at how many reactions we've had. We even induced higher from these lows, okay, to the left. Now, what do? We spike into these lows on Wednesday. If you were trading this on the CFD, you can see how we have a liquidity block to the left. Okay, you can see how we have a liquidity block to the left. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so going back. So we come and we spike. Now there is an LB to the left. You can see that. Okay, you have this low to the left. So you could have taken a higher time frame entry. So as soon as those lows go, you could have taken something like this. Now, I would be targeting all of these highs here. Now, I believe this is a entry Avid took, and I would have partialed at these highs. And it's unfortunate because once you now see a bullish move up and we've induced buyers, the amount of buyers that, look what happens on Thursday. The amount of buyers that are now buying this thing, okay? And this is an entry that I got into, actually. It's really nice to see. We've taken previous daily high, okay? So I'll put this separator back on. So this is Wednesday's high. On Thursday, we spike it, okay? We then induce lower by this breaker structure to the downside. And then we induced higher. So what we have here is a liquidity block. Okay, so that's a liquidity block formed there, and these are really, really nice liquidity blocks there. Low, high liquidity block. Now, what did I wait for? I literally waited for early sellers to get taken. So think about it this way, right? We induced sellers and then trapped them. Who's induced? Buyers. Okay, buyers are induced in this market, and you also have early sellers trying to catch that reversal. Now, I took my entry as soon as I see this gap and I saw these highs taken. Look at the reaction we have 5 minutes before market open. We have that wick down, sellers getting in. As soon as we opened, we spiked higher. I took my entry as soon as we spiked. Now this is really kind of hard to see here, but I saw this liquidity block form at this high, but because it was exactly at market open, what I did was I kept my stop loss above this high. It's a decent stop loss size, and what I did was I targeted where this bullish reaction came from. So if I just highlight this candle, this candle here, okay, I basically took off full position at these lows, which is suffice for me. I'm not trying to catch the whole move. I didn't even think we'd sink that lower. I thought we would induce buyers, trap them, and then move higher. And what did the market do? So that was a nice 1 to 4. Really clean in my eyes. Really clean from NQ. We come all the way down, okay, and we respect Wednesday's daily low, okay. So if I just put a red line there, okay, and this is why it's important to go BE once you are in that higher time frame move. After we've taken out liquidity from the left, you would have been taken out BE, okay. So we come and respect this daily low. Now, because I made significant profits here, I did take a loss here. Now, I'll show you guys where I took a loss. So this was the win, okay. Now we spiked lower, and then we came and took out this high, this inducement high. Now why I like this inducement high is because we respected that high and we moved away and we broke structure to the downside. So what this basically signified to me here is that what we now have is a liquidity block, okay. So I treated this as a liquidity block, okay, and I waited for more PA, okay, because I'm not trying to take a sell straight away. And what I started to see is after we took this high, we came and we took out these lows, okay. We came and took these lows, right, all of that internal, tapping into an LB, which essentially has built liquidity now. So I waited once more, we came and took out these highs, okay, and so I was convinced now that we are going to move lower. And what did I wait for? I literally waited for price to tap into where buyers would be getting in. You can see how we have early sellers, so break a structure to the downside, and then we move and spike higher. And so I took my entry here. I had this as a low risk trade anyway, so it wasn't bad. And I saw this move lower. I was targeting these daily lows, which is quite a big target for a PM session, to be fair. I thought we would just take out all of this liquidity, but the market had other plans. It reacted off this liquidity block, okay. It reacted off this liquidity block and just induced higher, okay. And then after it induced higher once more, and this is the problem with trading the PM session sometimes, okay. So it induced higher once more, came back into this area, took out this low, so it's not like I'd be looking to get back in. Took out this low, so the low that took out that high, okay. And then we started to sell up and we came and took out that daily low, okay. And that was Thursday's price action. So really nice to see this move on Thursday, okay. We take out, if I go into a higher time frame, we come and we take out on Friday during Asia, we come and spike, okay, that PDL, okay, that build up on Wednesday and Thursday's previous daily low, and we come into this LB once more, Okay, this is an opportunity to take another higher time frame position to the upside, and look what we're doing as we're moving lower. Okay, we're building liquidity. So I was convinced that we'd move higher to all-time highs from here. I was waiting for more PA, and I was waiting for stock open. So you can see how we formed an LB. Okay, and this was really nice to see on like the 15-second time frame, but really low time frames, you can see how if I just take this candle and I drag that along, so I had this marked out, we respected this area and moved away. Okay, and look how we respected this high and moved back down. So I marked these two areas out on Friday. Okay, and this was really nice to see. Look what we did before market open. Okay, 215. Okay, we spiked higher, 225. We broke structure to the upside. Okay, and then we spiked lower. And this was, I believe, on stock open. We spiked lower, and then we came and took out where we induced higher from, and this was my entry. It was really clean. Okay, you could have taken an entry here, stop loss at the lows, and I just targeted these highs here. So I'm literally targeting liquidity to liquidity. Your exit is just as important as your entry. Okay, now I did take a confirmation. It wasn't the cleanest entry, but I knew the direction was there for me. Okay, so look at that low and then look at the high. We stayed below that high. Okay, now we induced higher, and then we came and took some internal. As soon as we took some internal, it's not the cleanest entry. Okay, but if your direction you're very confident in, your entry doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and I took that on one of my futures accounts, and you can see how we just moved really clean from there. We came and took that liquidity out. Now you would have partialed at the structural high. Okay, and I was really convinced that we're moving higher, but this is where NQ is just playing around. It came, it spiked higher. Okay, induced buyers, trapped them. We had that move higher, and then we just started to break down. Now if you were bearish, so look what we come and take. Okay, we come and take this build up. So think about it as a low, lower low, lower high. We respect those highs, and the market just comes and hunts. Whoops. The market comes and hunts for that. Okay, now you can see how we have a liquidity block form. Okay, so there's a liquidity block. We come in, look at these buyers that are coming in to the market, respecting this LB. Okay, false reaction up, take out those early sellers. Okay, look at this reaction down beforehand as well. Okay, and then you could have taken that if you were looking to sell. I mean, I personally wasn't. I mean, even if you just target these lows here, wow, a 1 to 5, clean stuff. And then we induce higher once more, and then we come back down. Now I was convinced that we would be moving higher on NQ. However, we have this liquidity down below, which I think we're going to be coming from. Why? If I clear my charts now and just keep that level on, you can see how we reacted from this area. In fact, I'll even take this area. We induced higher. So I think we now come back down for these lows. So 28,517.25 on NQ. For me, I think we see that move down first, clear all of that liquidity. Okay, it makes sense as well because we induced from here. So we induced buyers, we trapped them, and then hopefully see that move back up to all-time highs. And that was NQ. Okay, so gold and NQ. NQ provided opportunities for myself. Took one loss in NQ, 2 W's to end the week. So 3 trades for me, just on one pair. And then on the CFD side of things, I'll look at. But do you guys have any questions? Yeah, I can go through it. No worries. So I'll also go through another loss that I took on this pair here, Euro AUD. Okay, I was convinced that we moved lower. Okay, so just to frame this out, we built liquidity higher high. We come to respect this higher low, and then we move higher. Okay, clearing that liquidity. Okay, so once we took that high out, I thought we'd have our LB. Okay, just to see it from a higher time frame perspective, I thought we formed our LB here, clearing all liquidity, and then this is a liquidity block, and then I saw us induce higher once more. As soon as we spiked into there, I had my short targeting these lows. So this is a higher time frame trade I had planned out, and it was working well. I thought, yeah, you know, we saw this bearish move down, okay, and then the market just induced higher once more, okay, because if I was to look at where this bearish reaction came from, okay, you can see it came from this high to the left. So just stuff that I make mistakes as well. This was me trying to get in really early in the move, but it's a good opportunity to also see where losses can occur. So it respected, moved away, came back, trapped, and then I think we see that move lower now. So yeah, this was just a loss I thought I'd share. In terms of GJ, GJ is very interesting to me. Look at these lows that we've left on the higher time frame, and then look at these higher time frame lows. I'd even put that. This could be a very huge move. We induced higher, okay? So just think about it this way, okay? We induced higher, and we respected these lows. Look at how many days, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And you can see here we formed an LB. Okay, so here's an LB. I am waiting for us to tap into this LB, and look at the liquidity that we're building. This is screaming shorts to me. Look at the liquidity we're building on the way up. You could have taken a higher time frame position as soon as these highs went, So like that, and then just hold as low as you want. Obviously this makes sense. However, I am just being patient, waiting for us to tap into here, hopefully have my stops above, and then my first partial point would be that 1 to 3, and then I'll just be holding the rest down. So GJ is looking like a really good opportunity, to be honest. Really good opportunity. I know Abid goes and dissects ES and YM in the forecasts. I mean, I don't even have YM or ES on my list. But yeah, I believe there was an entry on YM. I mean, once we've taken out all-time highs on Thursday, I don't know, there's nothing I'd be trading, you know, after we've taken out all-time highs. Let me have a look. I mean, if you managed to catch this whole move up after we spiked the daily low on Monday's daily low, wow, if you managed to catch this anywhere here, I think, and you held, well done to you. Wow, what a move. Yeah, I think I can see the opportunity there was on Tuesday during stock open. I believe it was the next 4-hour candle. Yeah. So was that the next 4-hour candle? No, it wasn't. So yeah, that's the stock open candle. We spiked lower, respected that liquidity block to the left, and then we just spiked higher. And then there was another entry here. I can just see all of this from the higher time frame, to be honest. Spiked lower again on Wednesday. Yeah, I mean, there's two opportunities here. So here's one, and then that's too big of a liquidity block. Let me see. Yeah, on Tuesday, is there an LB Wednesday? Anyone see? Yeah, you could have seen that. That's very cheeky. This LB here to the left. I think that LB there is quite risky to take in lifetime, but it makes sense. I mean, you could have taken that. Yeah, that's not bad. You could have taken that. And then yeah, you would have taken, especially on the futures, you would have just taken full TP there. Yeah. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, so that was Wednesday. So Tuesday there was an entry, Wednesday there was an entry. On Thursday, the direction's clear. Just liquidity below. Nothing clear on Wednesday. Yeah. Nothing clear on Thursday, sorry. We take all-time highs and then we come back down to take that liquidity. After we've taken all-time highs, I don't even entertain any trades. Like whether we're looking to short. And if it does short, great. You know, it's not something I'd be taking. But yeah, that was YM. You're just giving me a 1-minute chart, Sammy. I have no idea where we are in the week. Just give me a higher time frame. Just DM me. Daily highs and lows. I'm just testing this separator out at the minute. It's just giving me a good indication of what we're doing each day. It's not really giving me the highs and lows. I just kind of see the highs and lows. It's called weekly and daily separators. I'm not sure who by. If you just type that in, yeah. Yeah, I don't trade ES. Sometimes I look at ES, but I don't ever trade it. I'm trying to stick to trading just the stock open. I realize my win rate is much higher. Sometimes if I do see an opportunity in London, I do take it. But only if it's clean. Nothing in Asia, no. And that was NQ and gold, guys. Do you guys have any other pairs you want me to look at? No, I kind of enter after. Yeah, NQ for me, I just know in the back of my hand. Like I've done years of testing on NQ, so I just stick to NQ. Euro UAD, what? German 40. Can you explain US 30 again? When I've gone through it, just look at the recording again. During the trade, at what point do you consider it invalid? I mean, if I've taken a trade, I don't see it invalid until, I've taken a loss. I go BE after an inducement high has been taken or a structural high. I mark the mini because the mini has more volume, so data feed's just accurate. I trade the micros. I don't even trade the micros, but most people do, because you can partial on a micro. You can't partial a one lot, so a one mini you can't partial. Structural high on any time frame. It's all fractal. Even a 1 minute time frame. If I see a structural high, so not an inducement high, a structural high, I'm partialing. I'm collecting some profits. German 40 longs. Let me go to German 40. German 40. So I was waiting for these lows to get taken, which they did. Oh wow. LB to the left. Yeah, I was waiting for this, but I didn't look at it. So notice how we spiked the previous day's low, okay, which was nice to see. We then even spiked the previous 4H low, okay, and then we had that move up and back into that LB, and then we had that, and then we would have had to partial here, because look, this is what I mean by the structural. This here, so if I just put a box here, this here is your structural high, okay, it's the high that took out that low, okay. Now your inducement high, just to be clear, so everyone knows the difference, is the high that took out that low, okay, just to be clear. So we spiked higher, and this is why this is the perfect example of why you take partials at structural highs, because what did we do? We came and then we just come back and take those lows once more. So look at that liquidity we've built to the upside. Damn. Yeah, I just see us moving higher from here. I see us moving higher for sure. Yeah, but I feel like we've trapped twice now already. So do we have a reason to take out this low? I'm not too sure. This is a tricky scenario because yes, we've induced, so we have induced from this candle, you're right. So we have induced from this candle. We broke structure to the upside, and now we can come and take out this low. You're right. So that's why it's important to just observe and why you wouldn't be taking an extreme entry at these lows. You want to see the market give you indication that we are moving higher to all-time highs or to these highs. Okay. But for me, I don't know. I don't think we have a reason to move lower yet, because what have we done? We're just inducing sellers. We've just induced sellers. So yeah, I think we can move higher from here. On some brokers, it didn't take the low. I just stick to forex.com, to be honest. Yeah, no worries, bro. Yeah, you never go broke taking partials. Lorenz, so the packages are the packages, my friend. I don't think it's stupid. I think it's fair. If you want to access daily forecasts, recordings, then, you know, that's fine. But if you want to have access to the what, you have to be a lifetime member, my friend. Can you explain Euro USD? Yeah. I'll look at Euro USD. Just look at it from the daily. Oh, wow. Maybe we see a move higher. So we're in this LB, as you can see. So I'm hoping you guys can see this. So we're in an LB. We've tapped into there. We've trapped. So we've taken out all of this liquidity. Oh no, we haven't. Not yet. So wait for this low to go maybe, and then we can see a move higher. We'll look at all that liquidity we're just building to the downside. Let me see what the weekly is looking like. Oh, nah, scrap what I just said. It's not clear PA for me, man. It's not clear PA for me. Do you know what? I think, from what I can observe here, after taking out these highs and respecting this whole area, I think what's going to happen, this is just my thoughts, I haven't analysed this, I think we come higher and then move lower. Because we have taken significant liquidity, I think we might see a bullish move up, maybe clear these highs, and then come back down. I think Euro moves lower. Yeah, so this is what I had marked out for quite a while on DXY. It does look like it's playing out, and I think the dollar just looks stronger for now. I think once we take out these highs, we can see a move down to come take out lows. So yeah, it makes sense, to be fair. Yeah, it makes sense. That's why it's important to be in the webinar. Yeah, you don't get access to the recording unless you're a lifetime member. USD CAD. Yeah, not for me, Isan. Not for me. GBP. Dollar just killing me off on my payouts. Okay, USD CAD. Ooh. I think we still have room to move higher, to be honest. You know why? Look, it's this is what's bothering me about USD CAD. You see this candle we reacted off it, and we even broke structure to the downside. So I think we move higher to take this high out. You see how we just had this little rejection on the weekly? Yeah, I think we come and take that high out, especially with USD being the stronger currency at the minute. Yeah, it is an LB. It is. So you can expect some reactions. You can expect reactions out from here. Just nothing clear, in my opinion. Nothing I'd be taking. Closed bullish. Nothing I'd be taking. BTC just going down to the downside. 49k. This is why our strategy is so accurate. Like, I mean, look at how we reacted. Broke structure to the upside, inducing buyers from that previous week, and then look at this week. We're just flush down, flush down. Yeah. When is your YouTube coming? I don't know yet, if I'm honest. I know Elijah has a really good YouTube channel at the minute, and you've got the Inter Equity YouTube channel. I don't know if there's a need for mine, you know. I don't know if there's a need for mine at the minute. I'll see. I'm not sure at the minute. I'm not sure. The more the merrier. I don't know. Follow my Instagram though. Follow my Instagram, people. Trades with Adam. I like to focus a lot on the trader mindset and what majority of the traders are doing, and you know how to better yourself as a trader in and out the markets, because trading isn't everything. It's not everything. It's a tool. Mindset, yeah. Like I have, like, go follow my Instagram and you'll see what I mean by mindset. I've done 2 posts so far, so yeah, bro. Thank you, Merv. I appreciate it. If that's it, guys, any other questions? It's Trades with Adam. Any other questions? If we want to determine the bias for a certain asset, for example, NQ, obviously we have induced sellers on a larger scale, then we induced buyers after taking internal highs. So, like, what do we stick to then? That's a very good question. So here's a perfect example. I'll clear my drawings. Here's a perfect example. So you said we induced lower. So we induced sellers. Okay. And then we did that again. So over here. And then we took out these highs. So once we've induced buyers, from my data, what it states is that once we've induced sellers and then we take out that inducement high, okay, we have that move back down. We come and clear that liquidity. It's all to do with liquidity, okay? Same thing here, look. So once I saw that we respected these lows, even though I took a loss here, once we respected these lows and then we came and we took out that internal, so we came and took out that inducement high, okay? As long as there's liquidity to target, I'm fine with taking that trade, okay? I'm fine with taking that trade. No worries, Vicky. Yeah, it's definitely recording, so. Yeah, I analyze GC and NQ, no other pairs. For me, that's enough. You need one pair, honestly, like one pair /2 if you're a bit more experienced and maybe one's at all-time highs or whatever. You don't need more than 2 pairs. No, I don't trade YM or ES. Cool, guys. That's pretty much it from me. Do you know what? I like seeing the 1 minute LBs. I don't know, something about them. No, I didn't go over ES, Vicky. It's kind of similar to NQ. Start with FX or futures. This is a very good question, you know. I personally think futures. It's cheaper, less money wasted. Focus on 1 to 2 pairs instead of like 50 pairs. I think futures. Yeah. I used to blow accounts, like trying to pass them in 1 day. Um, but I've got an account, like most of my accounts I still have from like November 2025. My goal is to move to live accounts on props on futures. No, not if it's prop firms, Sammy. Not if it's prop firms, but do your own research. Um, I am building with Top Step, yeah. But my top three firms right now on futures: Lucid, Alpha Futures, um, and Apex. Yeah, I wonder too. I wonder too. I think you need a buffer in your account to move to live as well. I think you need a significant buffer because that's the amount you'd be trading live on Top Step anyway. Um, yeah, just type in futures for beginners. It'll go through it. Um, I personally think futures is better for intraday scalping or scalping and intraday moves, and then CFD just pays more. I mean, you can hold positions. Obviously, you got broker manipulation, spreads, higher costs of entry on prop firms for CFDs. That whole stage one, stage two, phase one, whatever, phase two.